In today's era, when the concept of the metaverse is booming, have you ever thought that the ancient Neoplatonism has intricate connections with it? Neoplatonism starts from the perceptible reality and has both similarities and differences with contemporary physics. Its unique development process, key characteristics, and exploration in the way of philosophical research are all full of mysteries. How does it explore the order of the universe from top to bottom? What are the origins and differences between it and Platonism, etc.? And why does it have a unique dimension of thinking from the meta-modern perspective? Watch this video, and you will deeply analyze the connotation of Neoplatonism, understand its important position in the history of philosophy and the inspiration it gives to contemporary thinking about the metaverse, etc., and together experience the charm and depth of philosophical thoughts across time and space. In the present era, the rise of the concept of the metaverse prompts us to re-examine many traditional thoughts from a new perspective, and Neoplatonism is one of them. Let's first review the connections and differences between contemporary physics and Neoplatonist metaphysics. Contemporary physics starts from the perceptible reality and continuously descends to deepen the understanding of the universe by exploring the subtleties of the cosmic matter or physical structure, such as going from atoms to more microscopic levels like subatomic particles. For example, in the 1970s, atoms were no longer considered indivisible, and smaller entities such as quarks and strings and other theoretical entities were introduced to explain the basic components of matter and radiation, which means that reality seems to be a hierarchical structure composed of multiple levels, and we are only directly aware of one of them. Neoplatonism also starts from the perceptible reality and assumes a deeper level of reality, but it is a top-down exploration method. The Neoplatonist philosophical movement in the late ancient period had some similarities with contemporary physics. It focused on revealing the order of the universe, assuming the existence of levels of existence where different entities and different characteristics emerge. These levels are arranged hierarchically, and each level functions as an appropriate explanatory level for certain phenomena, and the cross-level relationships are complex. For example, like physics, through perception to collect information and the correct combination of theorizing, it will reveal the basic nature of the universe to human reason. However, there are also many differences between the two. Neoplatonism regards matter as inert, without any of its own properties, claiming that what is fundamentally and most truly existent is pure order, rather than the properties of matter, or even the realization of order within matter. Methodologically, Neoplatonists are also different from contemporary physicists. The rationality of their theories is not sought from empirical research and the degree of fit between the results and the theory, but from matters within the theory, its completeness, consistency, and reasonable rationality. Although the starting point of the research is the experience and perception of the inquirer, ultimately theoretical considerations outweigh the comparison with experience, which had special significance in the context where systematic empirical science had not yet developed at that time. Neoplatonism has its own unique development process and characteristics. It began in 245 AD, when Plotinus moved from Alexandria in Egypt to the capital of the Roman Empire and taught his interpretation of Platonic philosophy, gradually forming an independent school. In the Roman Empire, it coexisted and debated with Christianity. Although it experienced difficulties such as the closure of the Academy of Athens, the Neoplatonic way of thinking still continued and had an impact in various situations. There is a controversy regarding the applicability of the term Neoplatonism. On the one hand, it stems from the fact that 19th century German academic research did not match the self-awareness of Plotinus and others. On the other hand, it is considered to have created an artificial gap between Neoplatonists and Middle Platonists. Plotinus recreated and reinterpreted Platonism in several key aspects. Neoplatonists were eager to integrate the philosophies of Plato and Aristotle. Neoplatonism has origins and differences with previous stages of Platonism and related philosophical schools in terms of thought. It has some key characteristics itself, such as the belief in the first principle, the emergence of numerous metaphysical levels, etc. It is essentially spiritual in nature, belonging to the branch of philosophy as a way of life. The core method of soul healing is inward contemplation, etc. And after Plotinus, Neoplatonism had practical characteristics such as theurgy. When examining Neoplatonism from the meta-modern perspective, we can see some unique dimensions of thinking. When we choose to view previous thoughts from the meta-modern perspective, to some extent, we assume that the previous thoughts are restricted by certain elements, because choosing a perspective means adding elements. And here what is added is the extremely strong transformative power of the entire metaverse on the individual spiritual world. For Neoplatonists, they believe that pure matter cannot be the starting point of any inquiry, because it resists the attempt of the intellect to grasp it. What is actually grasped when trying to think about matter is a certain intelligible organizational form, which is imposed on matter by the intellect. So this, rather than matter itself, must be the core of the theory. This is just like our thinking about the metaverse. The structure of our human intellect does not allow us to think about a single pixel like a machine and then form regular patterns. We can only grasp things in a graphical form because the intellect structure is modular rather than pixelated. In the way of philosophical research, Neoplatonism faces the problem of how to distinguish itself from its predecessors and ideological origins, especially Platonism. The core of the distinction lies in the degree of influence of human consciousness on the external environment. Here, human consciousness includes not only one's own consciousness, but also the consciousness of others towards oneself and the influence of the environment on one's own consciousness. For Aristotelian philosophers or analytic philosophers, and anyone who opposes excessive metaphysics, some tenets of Neoplatonism are indeed difficult to accept, but the entire Neoplatonist movement should not be denied because of this, because it may generate many subversive views on ethics. These views may seem to go against common sense, but in fact, common sense is produced by the structure of the world. When the world structure changes, ethical and common sense norms will also change. This change is not fixed, but changes from being a restraint and external stipulation on people to becoming an intermediary for people to understand themselves. Neoplatonism undoubtedly provides interesting philosophical arguments and insights, as well as an admirable unity and systematic philosophical structure, and its influence on our thoughts is extremely profound. Metaverse philosophy or meta-modern philosophy has, to some extent, fulfilled the promise of postmodern philosophy to people. Postmodern philosophy has been breaking things down, but has difficulty establishing unity and systematic things in the aspect of construction. The reason is that we still share the same world, while in the metaverse era, we can create the world according to our own consciousness and possibilities. Times are changing. In the 20th century, scholars began to re-examine Neoplatonism. Just as we stand today to re-examine the theories about the internet at the turn of the century, there was confusion, hesitation, and fearful anticipation at that time. And now, many things that once seemed counterintuitive or even unethical, once actually used by the majority of society, are no longer considered unethical because ethics and common sense are a kind of secretion produced by the world to maintain its own structure. We look forward to analyzing, reflecting on, and self-criticizing our own thought paths when we review our current thinking 10 or 20 years from now. The metaverse seems to study a brand new world, but currently, it mostly studies the world we live in from a new perspective. It can bring a certain kind of freedom, just like the third-person perspective in games or the perspective of the creator. Making things that were once solid can be rebroken and reflected upon. It may become a methodology in the future, and now it is a perspective of observing oneself detached from the world. I believe that there will be more and more research on it in the future, because everyone is involved in it, and it just comes faster for some people. Many problems that have been difficult to solve in history, as long as they are within the framework of Earth Online, are difficult to be fundamentally solved because there are problems such as resource scarcity in Earth Online, and people become limitations to each other, just like the underlying code is difficult to modify. resulting in the inability to solve the problems above. So, to fundamentally solve these problems, it often needs to look towards the future of the metaverse. Although the solutions may vary, the overall perspective is to choose the metaverse perspective. The relative novelty of this philosophical interest means that the entire discipline field is evolving. The research on the metaverse or metamodern is not the research of a fixed discipline, not politics, economics, or brain science. It needs to absorb all beneficial thoughts in the history of human civilization. It is like creation, needing to learn all the knowledge required by the creator. Metamodern is like a large language model, needing to condense, refine, and analyze new phenomena from all past human knowledge. In the thinking about the metaverse and metamodern, it requires theoretical resources from many different disciplines and is difficult to classify according to the previous discipline classification. It needs to be flexible. To make it easier for everyone to find relevant resources, optimizations have been made in aspects such as the color of the channel cover, the virtual hostess, and the title, and it is still being continuously optimized because we cannot prematurely define the thought, but let it develop freely. Currently, there are no first batch of certified native internet scholars. Although there are scholars who are close to internetization who post their achievements online and interact with netizens, they are not native internet scholars. There are also scholars in the folk who post their thoughts, but their native degree is not enough. They have not reached a high level of internetization in aspects such as knowledge sources, training, transformation, posting, interaction, iteration, tool use, and achievement transformation, and the author hopes to be one of the first batch of such people or strive to achieve this goal. If you are interested in such a goal, please subscribe to this channel. Let's work hard for the future possibilities of humanity. Go! The debates between Neoplatonists and Christians as well as Gnostics are intense but still peaceful. Sooner or later, there will be debates between the infatuation with Earth Online and Metaverse metamodern thoughts. These debates are based on the love and infatuation for the world, just like the debates between the pure love faction and the cuckold faction in anime. They jointly recognize a certain form of pure love. When such debates disappear or both sides cannot understand each other, that is really a terrifying thing. The metamodern thought of the entire metaverse is still in its early stage. Thoughts can sometimes be radical, but as Herder, a student of Kant, said, the first unrestrained early thought may actually be the best thought. The generation standing at the intersection of Earth Online and the metaverse can feel the differences and respective preciousness of the two worlds. Even if the development of Neoplatonism in the Academy in the future is like the closure of the new Academy of Neoplatonism in Athens, the traces it leaves in Arabic culture, Mediterranean culture, and Christian tradition cannot be erased. Neoplatonists consider themselves to be the spiritual and philosophical disciples of Plato, which conforms to the general loyalty and belief in the authority of the founder in ancient philosophy. In ancient philosophy, proving the correctness of the founder of a school was considered more worthy of respect than obtaining personal originality. In Earth Online, people also desperately prove that they have grasped the rules of the world, while in the metaverse, due to the high degree of integration and interaction between people and the world, personal originality may be better realized. In the tide of the times, Neoplatonism is like a bright and ancient star. Although it has been through the baptism of the years, it still shines with a unique light. Its intersection with contemporary physics, its rise and fall in the history of philosophy, and its new interpretation from the metamodern perspective are all like a profound dialogue across time and space. When we stand at the crossroads of the metaverse and Earth Online, thinking about the value and meaning of Neoplatonism, we can't help but ask, are we pursuing the echo of ancient wisdom or opening a new chapter of future thought? Are we breaking the shackles of tradition or reshaping the spiritual home? The rise of the metaverse has made the world more mysterious, while Neoplatonism reminds us that no matter how technology changes, the exploration of spiritual depth, the order of the universe, and the meaning of human existence will always be the most moving melody in the philosophical journey. May we maintain awe and curiosity in this constantly evolving river of thought, paddle with the oars of wisdom towards the unknown and hopeful distance. Let the spirit of Neoplatonism become the lighthouse that never goes out in this vast universe, illuminating our way forward and also triggering more souls to inquire and pursue the true meaning of life. This is the first video introducing the relationship between Neoplatonism and the Metaverse. As you can see, this series is not over. If you are interested in this topic, please follow this channel. Metamodern theory is an all-encompassing theory. Besides the connection with Neoplatonism, I have also made a video about the Metaverse as the second Enlightenment movement. Please click the button that appears later to watch it. Thinkers of humanity, see you in the next video. Bye.